You're watching our special debate here on the interconnect user charge and what it means for the telecom sector. Let me go back across to Mr. Srivastava representing the TRAI on the discussion. Sir, the former regulator of the TRAI, the former chief of the TRAI, Mr. Rahul Khullar, has in an editorial as well as on our show stated very categorically that he doesn't believe that this is actually going to benefit consumers, and he doesn't believe that this is actually going to benefit the whole Digital India initiative of the government as well. If you could respond to that allegation and that charge.
I think it is very important to understand the background under which the statement was made. I am not aware what was the background to say that, but what we have observed is whenever the IUC has been reduced, the consumers have benefited, the tariff has come down. Also, what we feel is that once the network is going towards LTE and 5G, latest technologies are being deployed by the service providers in the network. Obviously, the consumer will benefit. It will expand the network. And, you know, as the 4G networks are coming, Digital India will be supported through these networks. More and more data will flow, better download speeds will come. So certainly it is going to help the consumer as well as the government's initiative for Digital India.
Okay, Mr. Sirohi, would you agree with that? The argument on one side from the former regulator is that this is in fact going to constrain the sector from making fresh investments in new technologies, and the point being that the regulator should actually be technology agnostic. How do you weigh in on that particular argument, sir?
It's very unfortunate that the ex-TRAI chairman has made such a shocking statement about the state of affairs. I would say that there was a historic opportunity to introduce bill and keep when Mr. Khullar joined as chairman. However, he chose otherwise, and he reduced the prices of IUC termination from 20 to 14 only. That too, by introducing some kind of padding in the calculations, etc. And he also increased the ILD termination charges, which were not factored in giving relief to the domestic termination charge. So these kind of measures which he took, I think were very counterproductive. After that, we saw a lot of drop calls in the whole network because the development did not take place properly. And the whole country witnessed that. The new technology could not be introduced. It was only one operator when they introduced the technology, then only the competition came, which you are all aware that 4G and LTE has been introduced by the late entrant. Despite the lot of roadblocks which were introduced or created in its introduction, IUC itself is the anti-competitive measure. This should have been removed right in 2014, which was earlier the predecessor of Mr. Khullar, Mr. J.S. Sharma, had committed in the Supreme Court.
Yes,
so I believe that historic opportunity was lost there. Even now, the ground has been recouped by the present Mr. Sharma. And I wish, it was my wish that in line with the Modi's new India vision, Digital India vision, broadband for all, high-speed broadband at very affordable prices, ubiquitously available all over the country, is only possible if you reduce the data prices and introduce the cheap and highly innovative technologies in the network. That's what the present regulation, which is introduced by, will do.
Okay, Rajan Matthew, let me go to the point that Sanjay Kapoor was making. We don't know what the court will or will not do as far as this particular matter is concerned, but it looks like this is going to be an inevitability that you are going to have to be faced with, whether now or, maybe a few months or a few years down the line. Shouldn't you get on with business given where we are seeing this industry headed? That's the argument that Sanjay Kapoor is making, along with the argument that perhaps industry itself now needs to look at a sunset on particular technologies and make a choice between 2G and 3G, for instance.
So, Shireen, first of all, you're right in terms of saying, yes, we need to look forward. But let me just sort of correct a few mistakes that have been articulated. First of all, when the TRAI went to the Supreme Court and made the statement, it specifically said that it would do bill and keep when there was symmetry of traffic. We have written to the TRAI on this matter, and we've clarified this. Again, this whole issue of correlation is like saying, when the cock crows, the sun will rise. That's the fallacy of these types of correlation. You know, you do this, this came down, this. And I think that's totally fallacious. I think correlating this whole matter to Europe is again fallacious because, again, we don't have the same construct as we have in Europe. We are growing. We have, you know, 1 billion people to connect. Rural has to be connected. You know, spectrum prices at 130% of the European market. All right, we don't hold spectrum in perpetuity. The government itself gives a 10% factor for all projects because of the lack of infrastructure. That's not factored in. A 15% return on capital. Most people will kind of laugh at that because, you know, we pay 11 and 12% in India for you know, the capital that is used. So again, there's all kinds of anomalies in these calculations that we have to look at very carefully, and I think that's one of the things that obviously will arise going forward.
Well, the anomalies are perhaps going to now have to be looked at by the highest court of this land. But for now, appreciate you joining us here, Mr. Srivastav, Rajan Matthew, Mr. Sirohi and Sanjay Kapoor, to take us through the arguments both for and against the reduction in the interconnect usage charge. From all of us here, goodbye. Thanks for watching.